जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि। आइए समझें जियोपॉलिटिक्स को एक भारतीय नजरिए से।
So India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है। हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे।
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat and welcome to Def Talks. This is Adi Achint. Guys, Ukraine is about to, I want to say get over, but I don't know. But, the only thing I can say is Ukraine is about to explode. Jis tarah se Russians have been attacking Ukraine in the past couple of days, we've seen the kind of hits that the Russians can actually do. And by the way, those of you who are there in Ukraine, and one of our very dear followers is there in Ukraine, he tells me that there has been massive attacks in Ukraine since the morning. As a matter of fact, I have also found out that Ukraine has gone into an emergency energy situation where they just don't have energy anymore. They've said, and by the way, we are on the 28th of November. If you don't have energy during winter, something's got to freeze. And since this is a family channel, I'm not going to say what is going to freeze, but something's really going to freeze. Things are bad. New York Times puts out an article that we must return Ukraine's nuclear weapons to Ukraine. Dangerous times ahead. Let's talk to Major General Prabdeep Singh, who will try and help us understand what the hell is taking place in this damn war. And are we heading for a global conflict because of this silly little president, tight t-shirt wala, if I may, in Ukraine? Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much for joining in. I don't know if you're aware of this terminology called tight t-shirt wale. ये tight t-shirt wale बड़े बदमाश होते हैं, sir.
Okay. Namaskar, viewers, and Namaskar, Adi. Good to be back on your channel and discuss Ukraine as always. जैसे कि आपने बताया, पता नहीं कि दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है. Where is in which direction is the war going to head? What is happening? Suddenly you find the escalation matrix. It has breached certain threshold levels, and we really do not know as to what is going to be the future of Ukraine. Russia's future, we definitely are very sure, but today they are proving themselves to be, full of aggression, full of josh, I would put it this way, because they are making a lot of headway in the war and winning over a lot of territory day by day. Even in the Kursk, where जहाँ पे Ukrainians ने incursion किया था, nearly half of the territory is back in their hands. So slowly they are, pushing out the Ukrainians from Kursk, and in the Donbas region, what is happening is कि जो लड़ाई है वो westwards की तरफ towards important places जा रही है. So if you heard earlier that famous counteroffensives and all that, I mean, nobody talks about counteroffensives as far as Ukraine is concerned. Everybody is talking about that Russia is making good amount of progress day by day. They are moving ahead. We are all aware that Russia has fired this Oshnik, IRBM, intermediate range ballistic missile on Dnipro. Now, Dnipro is, it's on the banks of the river Dnipro, and it is somewhat of the, I would say, the heartland of Ukraine, and a big, massive industrial town and a big place. Now, why is this important? Primarily because if you recollect, even, just when we had started talking, I was always saying that the Russians would like to go up to the river Dnipro, to the river line. The primary aim of the Russians is to, get hold of the entire of Donbas region. But to me, it appears, while that may have been the primary aim, they will still maintain and they will now push forward as much as possible. So ये तो रही ground की situation as far as the ground capturing of areas is concerned. But when it comes to the missile warfare and the non-contact warfare which is taking place, this is an issue which is of course being debated worldwide. NATO has gone into an emergency meeting. The UN is in an emergency. UN has had a meeting. The Security Council has sat down to discuss all that, and there are statements being made by President Putin that more is to follow. We must understand what is the background. President Zelensky of Ukraine has always been asking for these long-range weapons, permission to fire the attack and the Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory. President Putin has always been warning them that please do not do it. To the extent that he has not once, on many occasions, said that if you do that, it will amount to escalation of the war and you will get a very appropriate and a massive response. All this while, the United States understood and went by what President Putin was saying, and they also understood that this would lead to an escalation of the war. So the permission was not being granted despite all requests by Zelensky. Zelensky in his own right, I feel, was always right to say that he has the right to fight and fire whatever he has into Russian territory. But the Russian stance to this is that the Ukrainians are not trained. They do not have the wherewithal to fire these weapons into and these missiles into Russian territory. It cannot be done without the American and the British assistance when it comes to shadows and whether. So willy-nilly, if something like this happens, it would amount that the United States is a direct party to the conflict. So till about this month, everything was hunky-dory. This permission was not being granted. And suddenly, lo and behold, President Biden loses, his party, Republican Party, they lose. President Biden loses because Kamala Harris is not there at all. So what happens is there is a change in the tone. And the change in the tone is smacking of desperation. This is a pure act of desperation. And President-elect Trump, he has already made the statement that, the moment he assumes office, he's going to stop the war. Within 24 hours, he's going to ask the things would, peace would return. Now, when such a thing happens, it is the military-industrial complex. Now, they are the ones and the deep state who are pushing President Biden, have pushed President Biden into taking this decision of allowing these long-range missile systems to be fired into Russian territory. So willy-nilly, it is very, very evident that it is an act of desperation. And obviously, all this while it was considered that whatever President Putin was saying, they was all, hollow threats.
Correct.
And obviously, President Putin had to prove a point, and he has fired this arsenic missile, IRBM, onto Dnipro, which has an MIRV. And he has made statements. And before he fired, we must understand that if the Russians followed the protocol of informing the United States that such and such missile is going to be fired. Obviously, where it's going to be fired was never told, but the intimation was given.
Yeah.
And
which is confirmed by the Americans, by the way.
Yeah, which is confirmed by Sabrina Singh. In her statement, as the press secretary, she's made the statement. And so when you look at it, who is to blame? Are the Russians to blame? All this while, Zelensky has been now, saying that give me these permission to fire because it is very, very Russia is very dangerous. If they are going to push, it is for the safety of the Europeans. It was being denied by the Americans. Now it has been accepted by the Americans. So they used it. Once they used it, they've got a retaliation. And now once they have retaliated, it is funny to note that President Zelensky is making statements saying that Russia has no intent of मेकिंग पीस. भाई उसने आपको पहले बताया था ना मत करना,
मत कर,
तो मत करते, नहीं करते. However, they did not agree to it, and now this act of desperation is something that we will definitely will definitely result in something which may not be very good for the entire world per se. What I am afraid of is that this act of stupidity or foolishness of firing these weapons, if it hits or damages a crucial infrastructure within Russia, and if it is targeted and it destroys it, damages it, the response to that would be significant. Now, at times, though everybody says that we tend to favor the Russians, I'm sorry, I do not favor the Russians. I'm looking at the war per se. The Russians till date have not attempted to damage any, they haven't really attacked Kiev. The power centers have not been attacked. They have not been targeted. Now, as you are in war, if you are in war, what do? You target, firstly, military targets, military installations within cities. There's collateral damage which takes place. There are lives, innocent lives also lost, but that's a part of the game. However, there is a tacit understanding that, look, we do not, an attack on a parliament is an attack on or an attack on, Zelensky's headquarters or whatever the residence would amount to something which is huge. So those things are not targeted. What you target are, like energy infrastructure is being targeted, definitely it is being targeted. Rail infrastructure is targeted, it's got to be targeted. Airfields are to be targeted, they have to be targeted. Bridges are to be targeted, they will be targeted. These are all targets which are there in your list, which when you prepare a list. Now, the Russians are smart. Winter's approaching. It's already 0 degrees.
Yeah.
The first
snowfall already there.
Yeah, the first snowfall already taken place. So in the times to come, things are going to become very, very difficult for the soldiers in the field, obviously, but also for the people of the citizens of Ukraine. And obviously, you're at war, so times are going to be difficult for everybody. You may call what you may, but that's what war is all about. And in the days to come, maybe in 2-3 days' time, we will have more of these, IRBMs being fired or Sneak missiles being fired on very critical installations. And then we will have to see. Does it remain within the confines of Ukraine, or as has been suggested and spoken about by President Putin, that targets within Europe, which are accommodating the accommodating, say, F-16s, right, or a certain launch pad from where the equipment is being provided. So they may also be hit, and if that happens, there will be an escalation of the war beyond comprehension at the moment. Yeah.
So what I kind of, find it ridiculous, and I covered this on my channel a couple of days ago, is that there was an article in the New York Times which made Zelensky fire these weapons inside Russia. There was no official statement that came out of the White House or anybody else.
Yeah, that's right.
There was an article that came out in the New York Times, and he bloody opened up fire with that storm shadows and the ATACMS and all that nonsense.
Correct.
Now, the same New York Times is talking about returning the nuclear weapons to Ukraine. And I mean, if I had a gun, I would have shot myself by now, because this is absolutely so ridiculous. It's not like it's just a euphemism. I'm saying it like that because your brain is on fire to understand what the hell are you trying to do, man. I mean, returning nuclear weapons to a madman like Zelensky, is that all
No,
that there is an answer to this whole situation, is just to return nuclear weapons to Zelensky of all the people?
no. Firstly, there may be certain viewers who do not understand as to what had happened. It is post. I think the year 1996 or something when they were returned. I mean, we got to
90,
check that
yes sir, somewhere around
somewhere
that,
around
yeah.
there. So nuclear weapons used to be deployed in Ukraine in the erstwhile USSR.
Yeah.
They were located in Ukraine. And when we were talking about when the neutrality of Ukraine and the withdrawal of the Russian component from Ukraine took place, and Ukraine became totally independent. So that is the time it was decided that all the weapons, nuclear weapons, deployed by the erstwhile USSR in Ukraine would be withdrawn back to Russia. So, primarily the infrastructure for, deploying these missiles, the nuclear weapons capable missiles, that is all existing in Ukraine. Now, if that gets reactivated and nuclear weapons are provided to Ukraine, and I'm sure, when you go back, you will find that certain people who have old hands at all this, they would also be available. So, whatever. The fact of the matter remains that Ukraine has the capability to absorb the nuclear weapons because they were earlier there, right? So, if New York Times is going to suggest that, and the response to that by President Putin is very, very clear. He has said that Russia will deploy all means of destruction to destroy targets within Europe and elsewhere if such nuclear weapons are provided to Ukraine or are deployed in Ukraine. So you see, it is going to mark a major, major escalation, and obviously it will be something that a world war actually encompasses. Of course, there are people who always believe that we are already in World War III, and in my I kind of agree that we are already in a World War III scenario.
I believe so, sir.
Yeah, maybe we are at 30%, but the wherewithal, the thought process, the actions being taken are all leading to a full-fledged war, which is going to be catastrophic.
May I, if you don't mind, may I
Yeah,
just, I'm sorry,
yeah, please.
apologize. The reason I say that we are in a world war is because in the previous world war, we didn't have nuclear weapons. If we had nuclear weapons in the previous world war, you wouldn't have a world war. Today, because of the nuclear weapons being in the picture, you can't have a global conflict, because the first thing that will happen is, and guys, you must read this book by Annie Jacobson. It's called The Nuclear War. She's also done a lot of podcasts and all that stuff as well. Annie Jacobson is, I think, one of the finest examples of writing in terms of war history is concerned, war projection, war history is concerned. She's written a lot about the Operation Paperclip and this and that and all that stuff. She talks about the factor that within 72 hours the nuclear button will be pushed. So you can't have a global conflict going forward. What you can have is past conflicts happening all around the world which are not connected, which don't result into a global escalation sort of a thing, but a regional escalation at that.
No, I second that. Even today, when you're looking at it, when we're talking about a World War III scenario, obviously the Asian nations are not involved. Asia is not involved, right? We look at the Middle East as fine. South America is not involved, right? But what we have is when you're looking at when you have it gets confined to regions. Now you combine what is happening in Europe and Middle East with Taiwan. If something breaks out,
Yeah, you got a problem.
then you got a problem.
Yeah.
Will it spill over? I don't think so at the moment, because if it does, you already have two major conflicts. I mean, uh, we should still consider these as regional conflicts, right? It's a Eastern Europe conflict supported by the West, right? Totally supported by the NATO and West and the Atlantic organizations, transatlantic organizations. But when it comes to Middle East, again, it is supported by the United States. It is getting over to Iran. Iran is now the what do you call the bad guy, and so is North Korea. So in between this Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia today still remains a little not so violent. Of course, trouble in Bangladesh, trouble in Myanmar, all that is blowing up. And then you have the India-China conflict scenario always remains. But the major aspect of it is spillover in Taiwan. If that happens, then it's going to be a scenario. Afghanistan, when we're looking at Afghanistan, it is standalone today. Nobody seems to be talking about Afghanistan. It seems to have been left to its own. I don't know where is it. It's heading towards Stone Age, I guess. And when it comes to Africa, yes, there is a lot of meddling around which is going around in Africa, both by the Chinese and by the Russians. And the Europeans are being kicked out of that place, and there is anti-European feeling. And the global South is getting dominance over there, so that's a different story altogether.
Cool. Okay.
So today, leave it at a regional conflict, but the ramifications of this conflict are global. What the scenario? The part which the United States plays, what happens in Europe, and how China reacts to everything has ramifications all over the world, because it's all, everybody is interlinked due to the economy. I mean, economy is all interlinked. So this is where it is. So it's an economic war which will have a major effect on the entire globe, and which is kind of already manifested when it comes to as far as the de-dollarization and whatnot, the oil prices, etc. Energy warfare is a new term which has come about, and that has ramifications all over. So it may not be a physical, global, violent war, but then yes, definitely economics, oil, etc. Everything is getting into picture.
So, what do you think is going to be the escalation that Putin will follow, sir? Or will he escalate this?
No, you see, it's the window available for Putin is till the 20th of January.
Okay.
Right? The window available for Netanyahu is 20th of January. So the United States is going to pump in, they're already pumping in 725 million yesterday worth of armaments which are going to be going to be provided to Ukraine. So the defense industrial complex, the MIC is going to make sure, or the deep state is going to make sure that, in my opinion, a situation so arises that it may become difficult for President Trump to handle. I make it making a very strong statement.
I termed it as a scorched earth policy.
No, I would not term it as a scorched earth policy. I'm terming it as creating a scenario which becomes difficult for President Trump to handle on taking over. Spoil it so badly, make it so murky and then watch the fun from the sidelines as to how President Trump acts on it.
Hmm.
Because this is a total pure act of desperation. Now, how does Russia react to it? I think the Russians are going to be very balanced. They will not want things to go out of control. They will not be sitting quiet. In my opinion, they will restrict their actions into the Ukrainian territory. What we will see next is the industries being hit very badly. You will have the political power centers. The Kiev is going to get a major, because the entire of the air defense is kind of deployed around Kiev.
Yeah.
All the Patriots and missile systems, they are all there to defend. The air defense umbrella in and around Kiev is extremely strong. And these missiles, the Gaussian missiles, travel at Mach 10. And by the way, they say that it achieved a speed of Mach 11 this time when it was fired. So, and this cannot be intercepted by these air defense missile systems. And they will be used in a significant quantity on Kiev. And because we all know that the moment you hit the nerve center and the command centers, things get ugly.
The entire really rotten structure will fall.
Yes. So this is what is going to happen, and this is my kind of, in my opinion, a prognosis of the battle which is going to take place.
Okay, just give me a second, sir. Something wrong with my camera. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear.
Oh, there we are. Sorry, my apologies. So what, I am kind of traveling, so there's a bit of a network challenge. Apologies for that. So my question again comes down to a very simple point: that what is the end game?
End game today is a very interesting end game. End game is to make life miserable for President Trump. It's got nothing to do with Russia. The end game will be of the president, the diplomat. I mean, this president Democratic Party will be to make life miserable. So how does it end? End will be a ceasefire which will take place on President Putin's terms. And as we all are aware, President-elect Trump has already, made this gentleman responsible. One Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, he has been made as the representative of the government for dealing with Ukraine. So he has been appointed, and he is going to be dealing with it. And he was in the previous government, he was the security advisor to the vice president. So he has been made responsible for it. And let us see as to how they are able to execute what they have been talking about. That is cessation of hostilities, Russia retaining whatever it has captured, establishment of a buffer zone of about 20 all along the border that's about 800 kilometers long, neutral, which is to be manned by the British and the European forces, right?
British and the French. By the way, the French have already backed off and said we are not sending anybody.
No, when it comes to, we will see as to when it happens. The French are already wanting to send troops into fight. I mean, when it comes to neutrality, they don't want to do that, right? And the Americans are not going to be there on the ground. NATO is going to have a tough time under President Trump. And the US may withdraw from NATO under certain provisions which are there. And that has already been talked about. So there are going to be major changes post 20th of January.
Putin today, last question, sir, before we get into audience. The Putin today said there are no prerequisites to the peace talks. What do you make of that?
You see, Putin has to say that because he wants to attain maximum. He doesn't want to commit that I'm going to limit myself to the four, oblasts, to the Donbas region. Now you screwed my happiness enough. Now I want to go as much as possible. After all, the claimed areas those are the Donbass region, right? But he wants to go beyond that, and he may want to head to the river and make, do whatever he can possible, capture maximum territory, so that he is in a powerful position as far as when it comes to negotiations. So that is how it's going to be. He suddenly retracted. He says now it is not a special military operation. Those days are over.
Yeah.
Now that the United States is assisting in firing these missiles, and the UK, the rest of the world is involved in it. So that special military operation bit is over. Now it's a different ball game. It is Russia versus the West, NATO and the United States. So obviously he's want to make no commitments that I will restrict myself to those particular. Those things will then come about during the negotiation stage, and he will not agree till he has actually physically recaptured all the territory that he wants, plus extra, plus more.
Correct.
वह भी वो प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प की बात नहीं मानेगा, बोलेगा ठीक है, you give given me a proposal, I'll consider it, I will do it in my own terms now. You do what you want. Yeah.
So basically, we are in for another soup till the time it is 20th of January.
Yeah, 20th of January, then we will see as to what the dynamics are on the 20th of January and the week thereafter or till the month of January. And it is in the month of February when things will start getting clearer and we will know as to where the entire game stands.
Awesome, sir. Guys, my request to everybody is please like the video. You guys know the channel is being pushed down till the 20th of February, 20th of December, sorry, 20th of January, not December. I hope it's the 20th of December. I mean, heart of hearts. These guys are already playing games with all nationalists. It's not just India. I spoke to people in Canada. I spoke to people in the US today, as a matter of fact, and I've been told that, boss, hang on. Would you believe this, sir? They are screwing with all people who are nationalists, all of them, across the world. I spoke to people in the US, in France, in Canada, and in India. They are screwing with everyone who can speak the truth. And this is how the world works. This is the reality of the world that we are living in today. They are so desperate that they want to actually target people like me who are sitting in my room or who are basically traveling somewhere, sitting in my travel room and trying to understand what's happening in the world. This is how the life is today. So I want you guys to understand that, and I want you guys to support this channel hardcore. All right. So please like, subscribe, and of course, yes, share these videos with your friends and families. And of course, you guys can contribute towards this channel using the QR code or PayPal or super stickers or super chats, or you can become members as well. Sir, when I was saying all that, what I was trying to say, I have another simple question. If you don't mind, I'll just take that up before we get into questions. The Russian game that they've kind of hit out at Ukraine today and the way they've destroyed the power infrastructure and this and that, how do you see the next couple of days? What will Russia do?
You see, now, whenever we, in the military, whichever military it is, what we do is when we've taken down the power infrastructure, we're looking at our total blackout.
Yeah.
So, a post-damage assessment PDA will be, carried out. Would have already been carried out. They will see what all is operational. They will try and destroy that. Right? In my opinion, what they're going to do, or they would do, is take on all the bridges on Dnipro. Cut it off. Right? So there is no movement across. I don't know how many bridges are there, but ideally it would be that if a military mind is at work, they will cut off the western Ukraine from eastern Ukraine along the line of the river. They will take on the capital. Right? They will ensure that Odessa is bombarded day in, day out. right? Whatever little naval infrastructure, port infrastructure is there, that will be taken off. So you can expect the industries to be hit. You can expect the decision making centers to be hit. You can expect the ports to be hit very badly. You can expect all bridges, roads, and communications to be hit. Okay, and that's in winters. Now, what happens in winters is you hit all this, you cut it off. There's no aerial maintenance because the airfields have been taken on. Your camera is gone. Your airfields are taken on. The energy infrastructure is down. People will just, the Ukrainian army, as it is, the large number of desertions which are taking place, it will simply crumble. So if you're looking at today, November is coming to an end nearly, December, Jan, Feb, 3 months, peak winters, cut it off, and let the Ukrainian army on the eastern Ukraine raise their hands. If I were on the Russian side, I would do that.
Ask a general about a war plan and you get one. Guys, my apologies for the camera. My internet is a bit off because I'm actually out of location. I'm in Yogi Saab's Uttar Pradesh. Probably Yogi Saab needs to focus a little bit on the internet as well. Thank you so much. But trust me, when I come here, I do see some changes on the ground, which is interesting. So let's get into questions, sir. First one, let me just acknowledge the members. Paddy Games, thank you so much for becoming a member. And I think, yeah, that's just about it. It's only one member. Devi Guru Prasadji, thank you so much. Aadi sir, de-escalation is Israel the next target. Deep state doesn't want peeps. So do you think our neighborhood is going to cook by the deep state or just Russia in mind?
Yeah, good question. The deep state would want us to get into us. You see, India today is a country which is being appreciated by the global south, but it is pricking heartland Europe and the Americans quite a bit. I mean, it is troubling them. India's rise is troubling the West. It is troubling China. As far as creating problems in our neighborhood, we already know what the deep state is doing in Bangladesh, and what they would want, what the deep state would want is that India gets involved in the affairs of Bangladesh and takes some physical action.
Yeah.
Which I'm afraid I think we are too wise. Is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the deep state's game that they want to play in India and its around its neighborhood, while they can keep playing so, but our neighbors, we understand much better than the deep state.
We'll probably do what we need to next year, not this year.
Yeah, what we need to do, what we want to do is what we will do. And how it has to be tackled is best left to us. It cannot get dictated, or we cannot get nudged by the deep state, howsoever it may try.
Rameshji, thank you so much. Sir, it's America's war within which is making the world at war. Is it America's denial of a multipolarity?
First part, yes, it is. Today, unfortunately, it is the internal politics, the domestic politics of America, which are playing out and disturbing peace and causing a problem to the world. As I mentioned during the talk, that they wanted to create as much as problems for the next president to take over, so that he gets his hands are full and he is not allowed to have a smooth start. Primarily, so it's domestic politics within the United States, being supported, being pushed forward by the military-industrial complex and the deep state, right? So I agree with that. Now, when it comes to multipolarity, obviously the United States is worried. Overall, it is worried at the rise of China. It is worried about. It is kind of not very comfortable at India's rise. While outwardly, they may say that India is the world. The future belongs to India, and they may acknowledge that, some of them, but heart and heart, it is kind of pinching.
True,
So
sir.
we got to keep our wits about. We have a very, very strong government in place. We have a strong foreign minister. We have a strong prime minister and the defense minister. I mean, the entire political dispensation in India at the moment is very mature and strong, and they understand the game which is being played. So,
Sir.
as proud Indians, all of us have to be wary and understand what are the issues. And I'm thankful actually this channel is, Adi is putting across certain issues which are very important for all of us to know. And that is why
Honored,
he's in
sir.
the radar also.
That's all right, sir. I'm ready to fight. Mr. Das Gupta ji, thank you. Have you tried view stats by Mr. Beast? It will help your channel and views and making it. Can you please mail me on this here? I'd like to have a
Here,
conversation with
here
you.
Mr.
I'm a
Beast
little
is
now.
there on Instagram.
Yeah, can you please mail me, Mr. Das Gupta, so that I can actually take some more details from you and figure this out for myself? Explore World, thank you so much. He says this war has been going on since 2014 and it will end when Putin dies because Russia is dead inside. Low fertility. NATO army wants to break Russia by 2036.
I guess, yeah, if Putin dies, yes, dynamics will change. That is why in between what happens is that you have these leaks which are coming that President
Yeah.
Putin is very ill and he's not. These are all pre-recorded tapes, and all that keeps coming. So yeah, I mean, if something like this happens, but we must all realize that Sergei Lavrov is there. He's pretty strong and he understands.
He's the
So
next.
Medvedev is there, so you understand. So let us not go by personalities. Unfortunately, all of us get carried over by personalities. We do not we do not understand. These are dispensations, and they're supported. They don't work alone. It's an organization which backs a political leader, and its political leader is a spokesman or the face of a party or the face of a country.
True.
But the ideology doesn't change. So
True.
trust me, it won't make much of a difference.
Unknown Gunman, thank you so much for gifting one membership to someone. I am grateful to you. Primitive, ceasefire broke a day between Israel and Hezbollah. How do you see the impact of this on Russia and Ukraine?
No impact. This is a very smart move by Israel. You see, we all understand that Israel has been fighting on 7 fronts. Now, if you can make peace on one front, on a one major front, and divert your forces towards your prime aim, that is, Gaza. So, and the Palestinian problem. So it's a smart move.
True.
It's a smart
Parthaji, thank
move.
you so much for this very interesting question. He says, is there something as a reverse hit piece, an awful load of Western articles praising Chinese jets, the same peppered around India? West seems to be desperate for customers for their fighters. Very good observation.
Yeah, the West is desperate for customers for their fighters, and the Chinese are also, making are selling them. Of course, Pakistan is the biggest line, and to the rest of the world. So this is there, and do what you may. It is the industrial complex which is feeling the heat.
Rajesh Agrawalji says President Trump is responsible for this escalation. His loud mouth claiming he will stop the war on day one. Now, Democrats are challenging Trump to do whatever to stop the war. I agree with this, sir. What do you think?
They're not challenging, I said they're creating problems. They're creating problems. Now, it's domestic politics coming out to play. Now, he may be a loudmouth, but trust me, it is he is for America. Okay, he's wanting to look inwards, whereas these gentlemen don't want to look inwards. So they are creating problems for him. Obviously, making
True.
it a challenging task for him. And
Batarji says, sorry, my apologies.
yeah, sure.
He says, what would be the future of Zelensky after 20th of January?
He'll be the
Batarji is a
guest.
funny man.
He'll be a guest somewhere, either in Italy and somewhere along the Mediterranean or somewhere in the United States.
Miami.
And
Agastya ji says, Major General Bahel sir and Adi Bhaiya, I know it's too early, but why suddenly France got interested in Pinaka? Are they preparing something or something is cooking?
no, they're not interested in Pinaka. They're interested in knowing as to what you're doing and what your technology is all about, so that they can reproduce it there.
Yep, exactly.
And of course, the French are also giving us aircraft, so it's a kind of a give and take.
Yeah, of course. Rocky Saab says, Adi sir, all I would say is from now on, 5 eyes, bhais ki aankh, Ukraine, China, Russia, Palestine, Pakistan, bhais ki tang.
Good one.
Sorry, sir, but this bhais ki aankh is my takiya kalam, which I keep using on the channel. Shalini ji says, what happens to the deep state investments if Russia declares full control of Ukraine?
No, you see, firstly, it's not going to have full control of Ukraine, so that is out. And
Yeah.
all the investments in terms of land which has been already purchased, well, nothing's going to happen to that. And what they're looking at is post ceasefire, they're looking at reconstruction. You see, we had already talked about it long time back. They're looking at about 460 odd billion or million, I don't know.
Yeah.
460
Billion.
460 billion, which will be required for reconstruction. So they've already made sure that they get an adequate share of the pie post conflict.
Realistic answer, Osho ji, thank you. How to carry out Pakistan Bangladesh G side? अरे यार इतना aggressive मत जाओ साहब. जो अपने आप को काट रहा होता है उसको काटने की जरूरत नहीं होती. Let him be.
You see, Pakistan is going to, you know what is happening in Pakistan, you know what is happening in Bangladesh, you know what is happening in Myanmar.
जो अपने आप को मार रहा है यार उसको मारने की जरूरत नहीं होती.
You watch from the sidelines.
Yeah. Hira Bish ji, thank you so much. Man, this is thumbs up. It's weird. Thumbs up is weird in taste. I've been जनरल साहब हफ्ते में आया करो, आपका एनालिसिस स्पॉट ऑन होता है as always.
Thank you.
And last one by Sandeep Saab. Your channel comes up in view stats by Mr. G Beast with lots of insight. यार can you guys please mail me, man? I am a non-technical guy. मेरे को geopolitics आती है, ये technical कुछ नहीं आता. तो जरा मेरे को मेल शेल करो ताकि समझाओ मेरे को क्या है, so that I can figure it out. And there's another one which comes out, which is an interesting question. Honest Pet Video says, Pranam to both of you, sir. Ability to defend itself. Europe's ability to defend itself after France. Interest rates has surpassed the Greeks. And market finding it's riskier to lend to France than Greece. What do you think?
Let's talk about ability of Europe to defend itself. Obviously, a key player is France in that. And why is France a key player? Is because of the military industrial, again, that industry which is there, and that's why it stands out as a key player in that. France has a problem of putting its foot in its mouth many a times, and wanting to send troops to Ukraine, etc., etc. And in turn, you see what happens is within Europe also there's competition. We all got to understand this. While they are all Europeans, but between countries there is competition. Germany thinks no end of itself because of its economic status vis-a-vis other states of other countries in Europe. France again thinks no end of himself, and so does UK. And when we look at the internal situation of all these three big countries, we know where they stand.
True.
Right? So
Absolutely.
when we look at the Europeans, do not just look at them together. There are far too many fissures within
Within
Europe.
Europe.
European Union is not united,
Yep.
right?
It's
Each
not
one has their
European
own.
Union. I would say just a union of Europe, nothing else.
It's
The other way around.
basically traveling free, that's all.
Yeah.
Free trade
Yeah.
and
That's
currency,
true.
etc. But rest of it, their interests are there. Now, what happens to France's economy? This is a direct fallout of what support they've been giving to the rest of the world. I mean, what they've been doing in Africa. Suddenly, they've been kicked out of Africa. So when they've been kicked out of Africa, obviously their economy is going to go down
So
because most of it was dependent on the African gold and the diamond mines, right?
yeah.
So all that has happened.
And last one, Rocky Saab says, what I've been observing, firstly, thank you, since the week is that West is shifting its economy on crypto, which is the new fiat. How will it affect globally and us Indians?
A good observation. The West is shifting to crypto. You have Elon Musk, you know,
Launching his
talking
own
about
crypto.
it. Yeah, and the crypto, the Bitcoin has gone skyrocketed, and it's going to go up to God knows 13 million. They say by 2036. That's what I read today. So when it, I mean, the impact of the crypto is going to be felt all over the world. We Indians have also fallen prey to that, but then our government is trying to put in checks in place so that
Balances for that.
it's balanced out, and we do not really fall prey because they are interested in our own economy as well as the pockets of innocent individuals who fall to this quick money making thing. Now, till such time it gets officially recognized and accepted as a tradable currency by all nations.
I won't be too this thing about it.
Yeah. So we should not actually see that thing. It is having an effect on global economies, and until unless it's accepted, and otherwise it's just as a means of I think transporting money from place A to place B without getting the bank controls in place.
True, sir. Sarjeet, thank you so much. This was pretty insightful because this is a subject that we needed to cover for a long time. This war is kind of going to change the world, as we said. I think on the day one that we actually did a show
Yes.
together, right? So
First day.
I think it is actually changing the world. So thank you so much for being there for us to understand this entire thing and to kind of put the pieces together. Till next time, sir. Namaskar.
Sure.
Jai
Thank
Hind.
you so much.
Jai Bharat.
Thank you. You enjoy your stay. Bye. Take care.
Bye, sir.
Go back to your